Welcome to Sports Talk with Bob Mack. We're brought to you today by Black Sails Surf Company. Got a little shirt going on, and hopefully down the road I'll have one for my big guest to the right. Let's welcome Paul Cruz, American Arm Wrestling Champion. He's here with us today. He's a Long Island guy. He's a Newfield High School guy, high school that I went to, and it's brought to me today by my buddy Craig Demetrius. Craig knows we've been doing the Sports Talk show for quite a while. Had a lot of local guys on there. And now we have Paul, interestingly, who's an arm wrestling champion. And while most of you might think of arm wrestling as just arm wrestling, something a big tough guy like Paul would do, you're going to learn a lot more today about the art, the technique, all the work that goes into it. And by the way, how does a guy like Paul get into arm wrestling? So let's get into it right now. Paul, welcome to the show. First off, tell me a little bit about yourself, about your family, and then let's get into arm wrestling.
I'm 45 years old. I work at the Long Island Railroad. I'm married to my wife, Kelly. I have 3 boys, Michael, Tyler, and Justin, which all are Newfield boys. And I don't even know where to start from here.
Well, arm wrestling, how did you get into it?
Well, basically, when I started working at the railroad five years ago, I shook somebody's hand. And he's like, we got to talk. And from that, and he's like, I'm a professional arm wrestler. I said, all right, let's go.
I don't want to cut you off, but you said you shook somebody's hand. Now, interestingly, Craig introduced you to me tonight. I shook your hand on the way into the studio, and the first thing out of my mouth was, my God, don't try and break my hand. So just saying it, it's crazy. Like, that happened, and that's real. This is not for camera. That's real. That's how you get into arm wrestling?
Yes, I shook the right person's hand the right time, and it just snowballed from that. My friend Rich, now he's my friend. I've been friends with him since my first day at the job.
What did he learn from that handshake?
You can't teach a hand. You can teach what to do with it. You can teach how to make it work for arm wrestling, but you can't teach a wrist and a hand. It's just genetic.
So he knew that your hands were big enough, were strong enough, the power in your wrist, just by a handshake,
Pretty much.
that you were genetically made kind of for this sport. And if trained properly, doing the right things, you might have a little bit of success.
That's what he knew. I
Not what you
knew.
knew.
I knew nothing of it. I thought I'm big, I'm tough, and I can just, as far as that, just okay, let's go down to the cafeteria, I'll rip you across the table, and it didn't work out so well.
So this guy, he's 100 pounds lighter than you are.
He's lighter than me. He's shorter than me, but he's not a weak guy by any means, and he humbled me real fast.
Wow. So his technique, his experience, he didn't have the leverage, he didn't have the weight, he didn't have the size, but he had the technique, he had the understanding of the sport, experience, and now that's sort of what you have. I mean, you're a champion. You have, need I say, you have a belt,
I do.
okay? And what does that mean to you?
It eventually means that somebody's going to come after it, so they're going to want the belt.
I'm thinking having a belt is, something positive. It sounds like a negative. It sounds like somebody's...
It's a positive and a negative. I mean, I earned the belt, and somebody's going to want to try and earn it from me, and I'm going to fight for it.
All right. And talk to me a little bit about the family. So you got the 3 boys. Any of them interested in arm wrestling?
My oldest, he's a Marine.
Hoorah.
He has no interest in it whatsoever. My middle guy, he messes around a little bit, but my little guy, he's 15. He's 210. He's comes to practice with me once a week.
Wait, he's 15.
He's 15, 6'1", 210.
15, 6'1", 210. So here's a guy that I'm sure every high school basketball and football coach is saying, we want you. And yet he's training with you. He's doing what dad's doing, which is the arm wrestling thing. And by the way, we're going to get to it, but the Arnold Classic, which is by far the biggest bodybuilding show in the world, is where Paul is going to be competing in March. Part of why we got together today. There is no bigger competition. So he wants to do what dad's doing.
He trains with me. He asks me if I'm home, if my work schedule works out, can I wait for him to go to the gym? He wants to go to the gym with me. He says he'll text me, "Are you going to practice tonight? I want to go to practice." And he has a drive, but he's competed in a couple little tournaments, and
now
he likes it.
Let's get into he trains with me. He goes to practice with me. He's probably in the gym with you. most people think it's arm wrestling. You know, come on. I mean, drunk guys at a bar arm wrestle, kids in a wrestling room arm wrestle, everybody growing up. I think Paul Mahas behind the scenes over here, Craig Demetrius, I probably arm wrestled with all of them growing up. And people tend to think, you know, it's just an arm thing. But you're talking about training for it. You're talking about a mindset for it. You're talking about lifting for it. Take me through what the athlete of an arm wrestler really is doing.
Basically, you're putting your arms and your bodies and pushing it in angles and leverage in ways you're not supposed to. You're contorting your body. Your bone's not meant to spiral. You're putting spiral pressure on your bones. It only takes a few pounds of pressure to spiral fracture your arm and shatter it. So there's a lot more behind it, because even with these practices, when I first started, the most important thing is keeping yourself in a safe position and not getting hurt. It's because you got new people that want to do it. You want to make sure they're staying safe too.
I love the safety aspect. Being a former athletic director and coach, you know, safety, it's first and foremost. But again, people are not thinking an arm wrestler. This guy, he's tattooed, he's huge, you know, he's thinking about safety. And yet you're like, no, that's the first thing they teach you.
100%.
The injuries. Have you seen them? Have you seen it happen?
My son has witnessed 2 arm breaks. I've witnessed 3.
Wow.
And it will haunt you.
And is it
It's a spiral fracture.
a spiral of the
You're,
uterus?
you're talking a plate from here to here, and
Wow.
you know, like 20-something screws.
Wow. So I mean, this is a serious competition. That being said, there's a whole nother part of sports. You like that, Paul Mahas? Another part of sports. My English director would be upset with me for using the wrong grammatic term, another, instead of another. Anyway, that being said, talk to me about the mindset when you're going into a match, when you're training for a match. You know, it's not just walking up there and putting your arm up. There's got to be a mental focus.
There's 2 different ways of looking at things when you start it, because there is a tournament setting, which it's double elimination. You get pinned twice or lose twice, foul out twice, you're done. Then there are super matches where it's best of 3 or best of 5, and you go against one person that amount of times.
I think I saw that in some of the videos. I think I saw you compete against the same opponent more than once.
I've done 2 super matches, but most of them end up being the people that you see me go against in my videos that I have up online are the one I beat, and then I end up with him back at him at the final.
Okay.
So even in the tournaments, you can go against the same person twice because it's double elimination. So if I go undefeated and then I beat this guy one time and he beats everybody else, it's going to be him and I at the final.
So when you qualified for the Arnold Classic, how many guys are in your bracket? Like how many guys?
I don't even know that day. That was maybe 15 guys.
15 guys.
And the top 3 go.
Wow. And how much time in between
Oh,
pulls? You call them pulls, right?
Matches. They're pull.
Pulls, matches.
You're pulling when you're at the table, but they're considered matches.
Okay.
A lot of the times, it depends on how you fall. So if I go up and the first guy I go against beats me, I go into the B side, which is a loser bracket. Then the next one, and then it's just a pyramid scale. So the winner, if I win my first match, I'm gonna have a longer break. I'm gonna take the easier side because I already won. But
Is there a specified time? Like
Never.
You're guaranteed.
only in super matches, you have a set amount of time between your matches. If you're in a tournament setting, I can have a war with somebody and my arms could be filled with blood and pumped, and then I could be the
Lactic
next
acid. You're numb.
and the next one, I'm the next guy up, and they go, all right, you got 3 minutes, and I got to try and ice it and rub out all the blood out of it. So
Wow. And talk to me about, so now you've qualified for really, in my eyes, one of the biggest tournaments in the world, the Arnold Classic. You qualified in 2 different categories.
yeah, I qualified in the 243 plus in the Open and in Masters, which was I think it was 45 and over.
Okay. So you're in the older division, qualified there. And I think you told me earlier offset, you qualified lefty and righty.
Righty and lefty, but I didn't realize at that time that it was only a righty qualifier. So I signed up for lefty just to qualify so I can, because I
Spent all this time working
I
on
arm
the left
wrestle
side.
both arms, and it was the Arnold's is only a righty tournament, which was a little bit upsetting at that time.
What's the greatest thing that you've pulled out of the sport? Like, how has it become this passion in your life?
I don't know. I wake up, I think about it. I go to bed, I'm thinking about it. I'm always trying to figure out a different angle, how to make myself stronger, how to build my tendons up. And a lot of people don't realize the inside tendons, how much pressure they take out of pure side pressure. It's just a constant. I put arm wrestling into my gym exercise every single day I'm in the gym. And it's a way of life now.
And you said it's, other than you've had a recent setback with your knee a little bit, but other than that, it's full body training.
Oh, 100%. If besides I tore my calf and I have a partial tear, I had a meniscus surgery on my knee. I haven't been able to train for the past 6 months, my lower body. And I feel
We don't want any opponents to know that, so just cut that out.
I haven't been able to do full body workout, which means I'm overdoing what I shouldn't be. So instead of having my breaks in between, I'm not. And I'm also not, everybody knows, any professional person who lifts for power, legs are the most important thing. And without that, I feel like I'm a little bit behind. But I got to do what I got to do. I got to rehab the way I got to rehab, listen to my doctors, and move forward. That's it.
All right, so then let's talk. So we got the physical part of it. All the training, all the weightlifting, all the things that we would expect you to do to be powerful in that area. What about between the ears?
I mean, if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or my wife pissed me off that morning, or I pissed her off, or it can change everything. I have a great support system. My kids don't like coming to the events. My wife comes to the events. If you see my videos on social media, my wife's normally yelling, "Come on, babe, come on, babe." Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. And I wouldn't change it for the world. So they got my back. My kids love it. Hearing my kids cheer for me, being there for me. They travel with me. I did Keystone States the past 3 years in Pennsylvania. My first year, I think I won 3 matches, and I was just like, wow, this is a lot harder. And it was probably 200 entries. Mm-hmm. I think James Reed and Paul Lynn ran that. Then I went back the next year. I went undefeated right hand. Then I went back last year. I went undefeated right hand. So my motivation's in the right direction. My right hand is my gold, and I train with it. I love it, and it's just a passion. It's just my wife thinks it's stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's
Now,
all I want to do and talk about.
On an unserious note,
Well, how important is the manicure in all of this?
growing up,
You have to get a manicure?
right? Yeah.
You don't want to cut somebody with your nails.
Is that an issue?
No, I
Do they care about it? Do they look at it?
if somebody had nails like my wife, I probably would say something before a match, yeah. Because you're really, you can dig your nails into somebody and chomp them up, and I don't need somebody else doing that to me.
Couple things we're going to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the referees and how that affects the game itself. And of course, we have to talk about Sylvester Stallone, right? We got to talk about Over the Top, because that is what brought all of us,
That's the staple.
right, into arm wrestling. And that movie, when he turns the hat backwards, right, it was like that mindset change, that emotion change.
They call it flipping the switch.
Flipping the switch. Tell me about that a little bit.
Basically, if I step up to a table and I put my hand like this and my hat is the way it is, they're going to tell me to flip my switch, because you get so close and personal to the person across from you, you're going to smash them in the face with the hat. That's basically all it is.
That's what it is.
That's all it is.
Wow.
But some people...
I'm thinking the big mental game.
That's
flip the
what a
switch.
lot of people say.
Yeah.
My wife, the first time I did it, I didn't know. My first match, first amateur tournament, the guy's like, "Oh, flip your switch." And I looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Turn your hat around." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
You thought he was getting motivated
And I'm
ready
like,
to go.
"Let's go." I'm, "No." And my wife starts screaming, "He did it. He did it."
What about music, right? So, and I was a big music guy for wrestling, for football, like a pump guy. Is it all just between your ears? Like, you're good with it, or do you have music that you kind of like to jump
I don't
into?
have any music. I feel like in the past year and a half, found a way to get my rhythm, to kind of get out that outside noise and just kind of put to a white noise. I use a mouth guard. As soon as I put that in, I kind of look down, I sway, and I try and get my mental state on. I don't pay attention to what's going on at the table. When I walk up to the table, I try not to even look at the person in the face. I try to just look at my hand, look at the ref, and wait. And but you'll learn as you watch the videos, that hand setup is the hardest part of the match most of the time.
So that's I'm glad you segued right into that, because that's what I was thinking about. So I did watch a lot of your videos, very impressive, by the way, and it seemed like that moment you come to the table, you get yourself ready, and then there's a lot going on with the ref setting your hands to the right. And I've seen you pull off a couple of times and make comments which weren't on there because it was music. What's going on there? There's a little bit of a dialogue.
So basically, everybody's trying to get to cheat. So I'm happy with a fair grip. If my hand's straight, my wrist is straight, that's what they want. But you get the guys that want to go into a hook, so they'll turn their arm in here, so all they got to do is turn their hand. And if people want to go this way, they go cheat this way. So there's different angles. They keep going higher.
There's little advantages you can get.
It, depending on your style, depends on the way you're going to try and get your hand. If my hand is in the fair grip, the straight where it's supposed to be, I don't care if I lose. I'm happy with that. But if I feel like somebody turned me in and put me in a hook that may be better in the hook and beats me, I'm pissed. Because the ref allowed that to happen, especially if I've had a match where the guy was inside ready for the hook. All he had to do was just close his hand, and we were in a hook already. And I say something to the ref, and he says, okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, you didn't fix it. And he says, go.
So you know, though, with different opponents that you've faced over the years, you're like, this guy, no matter what, when we tie up, he's going to sort of this, sort of that.
Certain people have certain styles, and it's textbook, and that's what they do. But certain people know if, okay, well, this is the way I normally go, but with this person, that's not going to work. So it's sometimes you can go right into someone's power, and you just outpower. They go right into your power at the same time, and it's not going to line up.
The hobby you have, it's not a hobby that you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it costs you a lot of money.
Right? Yeah.
There's no money to be made. I'm not going to be rich and famous from arm wrestling. I do it for the love of the sport. I try and promote it with as many people as we can. We do Empire Arms. That's one of the New York
Empire Arms.
One of the real New York arm wrestling teams. That's my team. That's what we belong to. We practice with the people from the TV show Game of Arms, which was the arm wrestling TV show that aired for one season. Mike Aiello, Steve Black, Kevin Nelson, Pat Baffa, all people that helped mold me to where I am today. They just helped. And when I first started, I met these guys. I knew nothing. I just knew I was big, I was strong, and they felt my hand and said, we got to work with this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
They found a talented athlete in the sport that they do, and really, put you on a path for greatness.
Yeah.
Again, you have the belt. I know it means someone wants to steal it from you, but so there's not a lot of money to be made.
No money to be made.
You go into the Arnold Classic. You're working for the railroad all the live long day. MTA guy, Long Island Railroad. So we got a fundraiser coming up, January 14th, McCarthy's Pub. Now McCarthy's, Jack McCarthy, my dad grew up knowing Jack, going there. Timmy McCarthy is, best friends with Craig. Some people say they look alike.
Oh, they do. And I actually grew up with Jen since kindergarten.
Okay.
So it's a small world.
Yeah, and they're supporting your efforts to go compete in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio is the Arnold Classic.
Arnold Classic in March, and on January 14th, 4 to 7 p.m. There's a great fundraiser going on at McCarthy's Pub in Center Reach. There's going to be a 50-50 raffle. We'll go there live, promote the show, and promote Paul. But anybody tuning in, make sure you get to McCarthy's. Let's support what's going on here with Paul. I'd like to see Paul get into high schools, start teaching some of those kids who may not be involved in traditional sports. All you got to do, what do you got to do? Walk around and shake hands?
Listen, it's good
You walk around the school and shake hands, and you go, yep, that's my guy.
Well, the teachers already know who I am, and my son's already beaten some of the teachers in the school.
You had mentioned to me earlier, you're like, yeah, don't take on my son. I'm good. I'm fine with that. I'll give it to the 15-year-old.
And it's amazing, this sport, you wouldn't think of it, how many people are hand control, and I talk about the hands and the strength. There's a guy, Dan Fortuna, he could take a frying pan and roll it in his hands. Who does that?
Like to have him as a friend. That's about it. Paul, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to see you compete. I will be at McCarthy's.
I'm looking forward
I'll see you then, my friend.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It can change.
Neither one of us still
Yo,
know.
yo, yo, yo. Right, we're rolling, so just roll into your conversation wherever it goes. It goes.
So we're gonna take
But
it-
give
take it
yourself
from
the
the top?
lead. Take it from the top.
Let's go. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Say roll.
Welcome to Sports Talk today with Bob McIntyre. I am here.
My direct.